Hello, everyone. Welcome to my YouTube channel. For those of you, it's your first time. I'm Dr. Twanna Carter, and I am a career coach. And today's topic is one that has certainly been in the news actually this week and for the past year or so. We're talking about layoffs, right? And there have been layoffs by text messages. There have been layoffs by emails. Last week, the company Outdoor laid off by a Slack message. Yes, a Slack message, right? And so, whether you're watching this because you were blindsided recently by a layoff yourself, or maybe you have family members, or maybe you have friends, who were laid off, or it's possible you're just kind of anxious and all antsy because who knows where it's going to hit next, right? You know, there've been little layoffs here and great layoffs in other places. So whatever the reason, that you're here today, I do welcome you. Today's topic is blindsided by a layoff. Here's what you should do first. All right. So I do want to take this time to welcome folks, and I do welcome your comments. And I've got a couple of screens open, and let me open one more. My Mac decided that it's going into it's updating. So I'm going to bring LinkedIn folks on another screen. I know where YouTube is, but understand that I may, if my Mac finishes its update, it'll be off. So that'll be fine. I'm going to turn my sound off over here so I do not hear myself there. So, if you're joining me, do say hi in the comments. Let me know where you're hopping on from. Again, today's topic is blinded by a layoff. Here's what you should do first. So, I see. I think it's Brayers Validation Consulting. Hi, how are you doing? It's good to see you. I've got all kind of tech here going because I can't use my Mac. I was just afraid it was going to cut off before I got done with my live. So I'm actually on my Chromebook. You're in Baltimore. Okay, so I'm in Bowie and Upper Marlboro. We're not that far from each other. Welcome. Thanks for popping on, right? So really the thing is layoffs are a difficult reality of the corporate world. And I am still trying to get my link in to come in over here. I want to be sure. Oh, I see. It's not there. It is. It's like everything has been signed off on today. So I'm having to go in and redo. But there we go. Yeah, layoffs are really, not just in the corporate world. I've had clients who work in nonprofit and they've laid entire sections off, right? And so really whether you're in corporate or whether you're in the federal government or the military or nonprofit, the thing to do is have a plan in place just in case. Not that it will happen, but just in case it does happen, right? Um, that's what it's about. Anxiety happens when we can't control the future. And we all know we really can't control the future. But when you plan for the future and you have things in place, it's about taking a little deep breath, and take that nice deep breath, grab your coffee, grab your water, whatever it is you're drinking. And let's just go ahead and dive into what you should do first. Okay. Should you happen to get, hit with that layoff. So, number one is definitely you'll want to acknowledge your emotions. Okay. Most of us, most of us have a range of emotions. Some of us have a range larger than we like it to be. I'll say that sometimes it's a little larger than we'd really like it to be, but there you have it. Okay. So the thing is it's okay to feel overwhelmed, right? It's okay to feel angry and it's okay to even feel scared. What typically happens is we'll go for the jugular, either our own or someone else's. What do you mean by that? Many of us will turn it into ourselves. What did I do? I should have done this. I could have done that better. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. And we just go in and we ruminate and we go in hard on ourselves, right? Some folks will go, they're ready to throw down and go after somebody because they're angry about what happened, right? So the anger is okay. Actually physically following through with your anger, not so much. Okay. But it is okay to feel overwhelmed, like I said, overwhelmed or scared, right? Many of us, the first thing is like, oh my God, mortgage is due, and oh my God, rent is due, or the car note is due, or private school tuition is gotta be paid, or that college has gotta be paid. Whatever it is, that that's our mindset when we say you're laid off is, oh my God, because we start ticking up what our financial responsibilities are, and people have financial responsibilities that not other people have. I know folks who have kids. They're in daycare, their kids are in private school, their kids are in normal school, they have aftercare. I know folks with kids in college. I know people who take care of their parents. I know people who take care of their parents and their in-laws, or grandparents or aunts or nieces or nephews. So certainly getting laid off triggers you because you kind of go, all of that, right? All of that at once. So anybody out there, we got people here that take care of grandparents. I know a lot of people do take care of parents. That's part of your responsibilities, be it financially or the caregiving piece of it. And your parents and grandparents, they're doing okay, but there's things that you have to overwatch and be sure they get taken care of. And so that's some of the things that happen when we hear layoff, right? A layoff can be a huge blow to your confidence if you let it. Okay. And let's just face it feels lousy. I've been laid off before. Anybody out there been laid off? I have. I've been laid off before. It feels lousy. And again, I'm the kind of person that come for me first. Let me be honest. I come for myself first, right? And I'm so glad that I did not depend on my Mac, y'all, because it just turned off. So I did the right thing by doing the Chrome notebook. I mean, it's not that high tech, but hey, I'm on and I'm still rolling, and that is what is important. All right. So definitely, and a layoff is a threat to your financial security. Typically, that's what gets people so up in angst, right? And so it's important. Don't bottle up the emotions. Do talk to a trusted friend, a family member, or your coach, right? And if you are the friend or you are the family member and you're listening to this, do practice compassion, right? If you've never been in a layoff, sometimes it's easy to say, look, you need to suck that up and go on. A job is a job, just find another one. That may not at the front of this. That may not be what your friend needs to hear. Just let them sit with their emotions and give them time to process. And we all process at different speeds. I had a client once, it took 7 days to process anything. She did. It was 7 days. Drove her mate crazy, but it was 7 days to actually process. And so we process at different speeds, right? And that's okay. It is okay, but just understand that it is okay. All right. And give that person grace and space at that moment. Now, 5, 6, 7 months down the road, if they're still languishing and all of that, it might be ready. It might be time for some tough love at that point, but out of the gate, not so much. Okay. And for those of you who have been laid off, you remember what that feeling is like. So definitely, there is no shame in seeking support at this time. So you definitely want to seek that support. Okay. And so definitely you want to understand your severance packages, because sometimes you're going to get a severance package and you need to know what that is. So let's get practical, all right? Take some time to really carefully review what is in that severance package. Like, do you get a package or not? And if you do, what's in it? Okay, because this will really detail your financial compensation. Do you get to keep your health insurance for 60 days, 90 days, 6 months? I can say I've had several clients over the past 2 years who have been laid off, and the companies have been really generous. They've let them keep their health insurance for 6 months. That is a godsend. I kid you not, because it meant that means that you can still take care of yourself medically, because a lot of us have folks on our plans that need that medical. Sometimes it's us. I take high blood pressure medication and asthma medication. So I would definitely need my medical benefits. And so do seek it out, because sometimes you get laid off. Their first thought is to go for the jugular of someone else and get angry and say, I quit. Just, but don't do that. Take a look at your severance package first. Is it something you can use? And many times companies will also do outplacement services. So if you already have a coach, great. But if you have a coach and they're giving you outplacement services, use both. Right? Use both, and don't hesitate to ask HR for clarification on anything that's not really clear to you. Okay. And again, if they're offering outplacement services, mean if they're gonna, retool your resume for you, if they're gonna do some interview role playing for you, yes, career coaches do all of those things, but sometimes companies will have outplacement services that can do that. Now, if you're my client, I always tell my clients, always have the resume up to date. It should always be up to date. If you have a major accomplishment, put it on your resume when you make the accomplishment. If you take on new job duties, put it on your resume then. That way, if you get hit by a layoff or decide you just don't want to be at this company anymore, you're pretty much 90% of the way with an updated resume versus going like, oh my God, I got to do the resume. I hadn't looked at it in 2 years. Always keep it up to date. That's the best thing for you to do. And you don't get, you don't feel like, oh, what am I going to do now? Because oftentimes, I don't know about you, but for me, the resume was the biggest thing. Before I started doing this, I'll do anybody else's resume. I'll do your resume all day long and all night long, but I actually hired somebody to do mine because I'm so picky about my own resume. So if that is you, or you feel like it's always like the bump in the road, I'm not going to apply for a job because I don't want to do my resume. Keep it up to date all the time. That's what I tell my clients. Just all the time, do that. Okay. So any comments out there? I think it sounds, I don't know about if you guys could hear that, but my Mac is off and so is my fan. Um, and it just sounds so much quieter. In fact, I'm just gonna unplug my fan so it doesn't come back on, because that's just a lot of noise pollution there. Okay. All right. So let's keep her going. Any questions or comments out there? And I'll tell you what I'll do. Let me log in on YouTube on my iPhone since my Mac updated, because I know that not YouTube, LinkedIn, because I know that LinkedIn, I don't always see your questions or comments on the live stream itself sometimes. So I will be sure that I am pulling you up on, let's see here. I'm leaning all the way back. Can you tell that I wear glasses? Can you tell that I wear glasses? Okay. There you go. All right, so let's go on to number 4. This is my 4th thing on my list here because I gotta keep up with what I'm doing because I can talk too much and get lost. All right, so it's secure your finances, right? This is a big thing that gives us the most anxiety, many of us. And so I do have a comment over here. So let me back check and look at my comment. So Brett Hurst says that the trap I fell into was being very insulated in my big company employer. Yes. Only had 22 LinkedIn connections when I was laid off in January of 2023. Yes. Oh my gosh. I totally feel you there. That's why I tell my clients, always be networking, and always just keep that resume up to date. Networking doesn't have to be, and that's my next thing on the list. So I'm going to kind of do a couple of things here. Networking doesn't have to be, like a 5-hour a week thing. It does not, right? It could, I have a PDF out there, an ebook called, Network and Get It Done in about 30 minutes a week. You really can and keep yourself on target. And I was talking with someone messaging back and forth on LinkedIn today, and she made the comment that people, if I can get her words right, she said people get too comfortable being in these companies and they stop looking and they stop preparing for the next role And when they get laid off, it's blindsided. That's the reason why I named this particular live Blindsided, because when you're laid off, you are blindsided. You are completely blindsided. And it's painful. It's a gut punch. It's gut wrenching. I know I was laid off when I was in college, and it wasn't even my whole for real job, but it was still gut wrenching. For me, I found it humiliating, right? So yes, there was a financial aspect of it, but I also just found it humiliating. And some of us do. What am I going to tell my family? What am I going to tell my friends? What am I going to say to this person? What are people going to think about me because I've been laid off? And so there's so many emotions that come along with being laid off. And let's just, acknowledge, if you love someone and they get laid off, there are a lot of emotions involved for you as well. And so I do want to address not just if you got laid off, but if your loved one or your friend is, lots of emotions, that get caught up in that, because we have things planned and, oh my God, what are we going to do, and those types of things, right? And so definitely, if you don't already have one, create that budget and look at, so you want a budget, and I know that's a dirty word for some people, right? But I keep mine in Excel. It's not difficult. If you do the budget right, I mean, you put all your line items in there. Hair care is a big thing. I had 3 girls, so hair care was in my budget. Hair care products was in my budget. I like to eat out, so that's a separate budget from my groceries. If you put everything in a budget, it's not a dirty word, but at this time, it's really important for you to do that, so you can start looking down and looking at the like to have, the must haves, and we might have to put it on pause for a hot minute, right? It's just, it comes down to that. Sometimes you got to just prioritize. Look at what we have to spend versus what we always like. And everybody picks on Starbucks. Well, you might not need that Starbucks coffee. Well, if you're hooked on caffeine, you might need it, but you might not need some other things. But it's up to you, right? If you got to cut some really important things. I've known people say, well, cable had to go. I loved it. I want to catch my shows, but hey, I'll catch some highlights on YouTube or something. And so, you need to look at that budget and see what kind of breathing room do you have. If it were to take you 6 months to get a job, what kind of breathing room do you have? If it's gonna take you 8 months to get a job, do you have breathing room? Okay. And that flows into the next one. You may be able to file for unemployment depending on where you are. I mean, not everybody will, depending on where you are. Ask the question, because sometimes you can. And I will say, having had to deal with folks that had to pay some back, be careful what you take. Be careful. Be honest. Just to say that. Be honest when you apply for it, and you probably won't have to worry about getting too much, right? But, depending on your location, you may be able to file for that, right? So do not miss out on that financial employment. Look into the process, because if it's a 2 to 3 months before you get your next job, that may not be a big deal for some folks. For other folks, it is. The goal, they tell you, is to keep 6 to 12 months expenses saved up. COVID, just for many people, that evaporated. Let's just face it, that evaporated. So not everybody has that cushion, but that is a goal, right? And so sometimes, you really got to roll into and do that bridge job, right? And that's on my list as well. Now, for those of you who don't know what a bridge job is, that's a job that you take to keep the lights on and to be able to pay that mortgage and pay down, pay that car note and keep groceries on the table until you find the job that you really, really want, right? That's a bridge job. Sometimes bridge jobs can be wonderful, because if you've been thinking about another industry, then maybe look at getting a bridge job in that industry to bridge you from where you are to your next job, get the experience. And sometimes you're able to move up in that company, or once you come in the door at a certain rate, you can apply for another role there and stay. It just all depends, right? And bridge jobs, they do the job. I had a client that got laid off in the big the financial disaster of 2008, and she had to get a bridge job, and she stayed there for a minute longer than she wanted. And so when she hired me as a career coach, I was able to work with her, and we got her a job in like about 5 months, and she had an $80,000 raise. That's not a bad thing. So bridge jobs are not dirty words, but you work them because she was able to do things in that bridge job that helped her in her for real job that she actually wanted. So those are just some of the things that you can look at. When you look at your finances, you're like, "Ooh, this is tough." Bridge jobs are not out of the question, right? And that flows into my next one. Talked a little bit about it already. Network, network, network. Always be networking. I promise you, always be networking. All right. And it's okay if you haven't networked, you can just start now. What they say, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The next best time is right now. So you just start networking right now. Okay. Because that's when you're starting to really roll into getting that job search rolling, right? And so networking is your most valuable asset at this time in doing a layoff, right? And one of the things that I talked about as a bridge job, the other thing that, don't hesitate to do is don't hesitate to do volunteer work, because a lot of folks, when they get to a certain height, in their career, they want to give back, and they give back by joining volunteer networks. You will never understand who you can meet while you're volunteering. So yes, you need the bridge job, do the bridge job. If you can do a volunteer job and do the job search and take care of all your responsibilities, I say do it. If you already volunteer at some certain places, kick it up a notch. Let everybody there know you're looking for work, right? That's a part of networking strategies. Reach out to former colleagues and connect with people on LinkedIn for sure, because that's what we do on LinkedIn. But don't sleep on social media, right? Because jobs are posted on Instagram, they're posted on Twitter, they're posted on Facebook. You can network across all of those platforms. You can even network on TikTok. Depends on, what floats your boat. If you're not, if it's uncomfortable doing that on social media, then don't. But if you're comfortable, you're already there. Hey, look up, because I love Twitter, and I've met some really great people in tech in Twitter, and I have given my clients, right, some really great tech advice because I'm in contact with folks on Twitter, because there's so much tech on Twitter, right? Then you have fan base. Fan base is up and coming, and there's a little bit on there as well. But again, whichever one floats your boat, don't hesitate to use it. Use everything at your disposal, right? You want to be upfront with your network and be honest, right? Because if you have a network of, say, 10 people, you start where you start. And if each of those 10 people is connected to 20 people, right? Well, your network just ballooned from 10 to over 200. So you want them to be looking for the right stuff. If you are right now a project manager and you hate it and you really want to do something else, well, don't have your networking for a project management job. Have them networking, tell them what you want, what you're looking for. Give them a great basis of information, so they're going through jobs and they're going through their friends and they're talking and they're listening. They're getting things that you'd want to take. You don't want them networking on your behalf and you're going like, oh my God, I'd never do that. So you don't have to say it like that, but you certainly be thinking like that. But do be upfront with folks. If give them a resume, say, here's the bottom line, here are the highlighted things I need. But always do that, so everybody's looking for the right thing for you. Okay. And that flows into the next one is update your resume and your LinkedIn profile. I know that sometimes I'm zooming by when I'm working with clients, and I've been like, we got to get your LinkedIn profile, we got to do better. Okay. Here's the thing. When I was working, it was a W-2 employee, I always knew when I was about to get interviewed. How? Because an anonymous person from the company that I apply for would check out my LinkedIn profile almost every time. So it is important to keep your LinkedIn profile up to date. They have a thing out there that says open to work, right? Turn it on, you know, because when you have the right keywords and the right things in your profile, recruiters will come looking for you. I tell you what, I'm a career coach, so I'm always on LinkedIn looking at stuff and helping clients out. Recruiters come for me. Okay. It's hilarious when the algorithm gets lit up and LinkedIn start throwing all these jobs at me. Hey, you were checking out this job. So LinkedIn works if you use it. Get your resume updated. Have those keywords sitting there, making sure that you're active on your profile, right? That's a part of networking because you can use LinkedIn to network. Of course, you can do in-person networking, but that's a part of it. And like I said, always keep your resume up to date because I don't know about for you. Like I said, that was always the hardest thing for me when I was out there. All right. So you do want to highlight your skills and your accomplishments that are relevant to the job you want. Again, a good example. I used to be a health inspector. Hated it. I had several jobs. Field examiner for the Department of Veteran Affairs. Hated it. I hated the work. I loved the people I served, but I did not like that going into people. I'm going through their financial accounts or bank accounts, and I'm telling them if they do things wrong. I never liked that piece of it. And here's the thing, I was really great at it. I was wonderful at it. And when I took my aptitude test, they say, yes, this is a job for you. You're really great at it. Hated it. So only highlight the accomplishments on your resume for the jobs that you want. And that's why some people stay stuck in a job. It's like, what if I get something that I don't like? If you get something you don't like, don't take it. Just don't take it. All right. But yes, again, be honest and upfront. If you hate your job, don't go looking for the same job again. Here's your time to upgrade and get a pay raise, right? About 39% of the people who change jobs get a pay raise. So I'm just saying it's not a bad thing. Okay. Also consider, if you have problems with it, consider getting a resume reviewed by a career coach. There are a lot of career coaches who just do resumes, right? So as a career coach, I'm more of the mindset. I'm more of teaching you how to find your value, how to express that value, how to write it on that resume, and how to interview for that. And also teaching you the best way to find the jobs and how to network and what to say when you're networking, what to say when you're doing a follow-up. So that's what I do as a career coach. So I don't just do resumes. Some people do. They love it and they are good at their job. So if you don't think you're kind of pulling up on now, just hire somebody to do it for you. I did. I'm a career coach. And when I was doing that W-2 employee, someone else did my resume. Someone else did it. I was happy to pay her that money to do it. Right? I'm just saying you do what you like and that you don't, you hire somebody who is really great at it. Okay. Because at the end of the day, a strong resume is key to making that. I'd say it says, I don't know, that's the first impression. Because sometimes that first impression is if you network and do it well, that's the first impression, and the resume is the second. I'm just saying. Okay. Um, I'm just saying, putting it out there, right? So, do I have any comments or questions? Let me check out here on LinkedIn because I can't see your comments here. Let's see, let's see, let's see. Let's see. I'm looking over here. I don't see any comments there. Um, Again, you can tell I wear glasses because I gotta lean way back from the phone just to see it. Yeah, I'm laughing at myself. You guys can laugh with me. It's okay. I understand. I totally understand. Yeah, so there we go. All right. So what's next up on the list? We talked about all the stuff to get you started, to get you rolling on the job and finding that next best position. The next thing is do take time to focus on your well-being. I know it's stressful. Again, I've been laid off. I have been without a job several times. I've been without a job as a single person. I've been without a job as a person with three children, taking care of a single parent with three kids. It's stressful. I got to tell you, it just really is. But you do have to remember to take care of yourself because, again, you can't pour from an empty vessel. You just can't pour from an empty vessel. And if you go down, you get sick at this moment, and you can't do anything, then who takes care of you and your responsibilities? Right. And so there are some people who get laid off. There's like, cool, I'm going to take the next 2 months off. I'm going to do whatever. Hats off. If you can do that, I say do it, especially if you're coming off a stressful job. I do say do that. But for the rest of us, I'm going to put myself in that boat. I could not do that. So do take time, right, to take care of you. Being laid off is a great time to reevaluate your career goals. And I've mentioned several times, if you don't like the job you're in, don't go get another job doing the same thing. I get it if it's a bridge job, but if you have the space and the bandwidth and the financials to really retool and reevaluate and do 180 to a career that you like, this is the best time to do it. All right. A lot of people get nervous at this point because they think, well, I'm going to have to go in at the bottom, because I said, you don't have to go in at the bottom. That's why you hire a really great career coach, because we coach you to go in above where you are. And I'm going to talk to my Black women right now. Most of us have been raised to do 2 to 3 times as much work for a job to be thought of as normal. So that probably means you're able to do your boss's job and probably your boss's job. So you should never go to a job and take less pay. You just shouldn't. You're already doing the work. You're just not compensated for the work because you don't understand your value. Right. And so that's my big thing when I coach my ladies. It's about getting you to understand your value, because people like, oh, I got to go in at the bottom and start over. I'll just take that and work up. I was like, no, we want you to go in at the top. Certainly not less than where you are, but preferably 20, 30, 50, $80,000 more, because you're already working 2 to 3 times as hard. You're just not getting paid for it. All right. And so that's part of what I do as a career coach when I work with my clients. I also teach my clients that work-life balance. I know some people say it's a myth. It's not a journey. It's not an end journey. Work-life balance is not like, I got the work-life balance, I'm done forever, hence and forevermore. No. It is it's a process, a work in process, right? And so you do have to take care of you. So if you do have to eat right, you do have to make sure you're taking your medications, making sure you drink enough water, making sure you get time alone, making sure you spend time with your family. Do the things that comfort you and make you feel good. If you're an introvert and spending time by yourself, by all means, do spend time by yourself, but not to the point where you're isolating and you get that woe is me, or you're very angry with someone and you're ready to come out of the bag. So do it all in moderation. Okay. And so again, self-care is very challenging during this time, but it is necessary because you carry your energy in with you. Well, you carry your energy with you when you do your resume. You carry your energy with you when you fill out that job application, and you're going to carry that energy with you when you go in for an interview. So do you want to be anxiety out the wazoo and frazzled and, suffering from lack of sleep and not enough water and all of that, and going into an interview? You're not going to make your best foot forward. You're not going to put that best foot forward and make your best impression if you do that. So it seems counterintuitive, but remember, your energy follows you. And if you're in a room with someone like me, I'm an empath. I just can sit and feel kind of what you're feeling, not kind of what you're feeling. Oftentimes I can feel what you're feeling in a room, especially if I'm with you in person. Now, after 4 years after COVID, I can feel that, and we're sitting on the internet, right? And so other people can too. You want to go into the interview well rested, well cared for, with enough self-care, so you are at your best. You're confident, your self-esteem is there, and you're not coming off desperate and like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And I actually had someone do that in the interview when I was working for the VA, and I coached him and did all that stuff. I was like, it's okay. He got it. I was like, look, I just need a job right now. You're going to hire me? And I was like, I was sitting outside like this, like, oh my gosh. But that's what happens when you let that pressure and that stress build. That's why you do that self-care, so it doesn't get to that point, right? It takes the edge of it off. And when you go in to present for an interview, or you're doing your informational interviews, and I'll link to that in the comments and in my description as well, because this is a great time to do an information interview. They're just 15, 20 minutes or so, where you call people up, sit with you and do an information interview. How did you get your job? What was the path? What was your education? What do you like? What do you don't like? What do you do on a daily basis? You're not asking for a job, but it's a wonderful way to extend your network, expand your network, and build that network. And you never ever ask someone on an informational interview for a job. Never ever put them in that position. They don't have the power to hire you anyway. You're getting information. That's why they call it an information interview. And so you can just set those up, and it's a great place to do that, especially if you want to jump to a new industry, and as well as if you want to be in your same industry but you're looking to do something else that's different, right? But you want to go into an information interview still well rested, anxiety low, confidence high, self-esteem high, right? Those are important to do at this time, right? And so let me try to get on here on LinkedIn again. One more, as they say, one more again, just to be sure that I am addressing the questions there. Let's go home. Let's go back. It's telling me I've been selected to answer a question, but that's not what I'm looking for right now. All right, let's go here. And I have done a lot of posts here recently, y'all. So there it is. That's what I was looking for. I just want to be sure that if anybody asks questions, because I know that a lot of my LinkedIn folks joined today, and I just want to be here to answer questions and be sure I get your questions answered while I am on live. And for the rest of you, if you're on Facebook or Twitter, go ahead and drop your questions in the comments. I'll either answer them on live, while I'm live here. And then after I go sign off the live, I always circle back and ask my questions. And so those of you who watch a replay, thank you for that as always. And you too can drop your answers, your questions or your comments, because I always circle back and answer those, right? So, being laid off can feel like just the worst setback ever right now, but it doesn't have to define your future, right? This is really an opportunity to reevaluate your career goals and land an even better job, right? Because let me ask Brayer's validation. She said she was laid off in January 2023. Did you find another job or did you go into an entrepreneurship, right? So I actually quit my job. They refused to let me work at home, and I was like, yeah, I'm high risk COVID, I'm not coming in. And so I resigned my 6-figure federal government job to do this full time, and I have another business as well. So that's the thing about it. When you evaluate your career, you may find entrepreneurship is a viable source of income for you. Many of us do that. A lot of us did that during COVID. So take this opportunity to look, stay positive, and leverage your network and focus on what you can control, right? And you can't control going in there and cussing out your boss. Don't do that. Okay. I know it may feel good for a time, but at the end of the day, it's not the right move because you may see him again. So him or her again. So Brewer says she chose entrepreneurship because the jobs that were available didn't have the variety I desired. Bingo. Yes, that part right there. That part. When you get laid off, it could seem like the world is coming to an end in that moment. But once you get in contact with your support and really sit down, you can make a better choice. You can. It is definitely possible. She did that. She went into entrepreneurship, right? And it doesn't have to take all the overhead depending on what you want to do. It's not as difficult as you think it is. Once or twice a year, I actually take on clients in my Courage to Launch Your Business. I do take on clients for that because entrepreneurship is a career choice, right? And it's wonderful. I'm truly enjoying. This is my third year as an entrepreneur full time. I've been part time for about 14 years, but full time now, and it's the best thing. What about you, Braywers? Is it? Are you loving it? I do. I feel like I found what I was going to be when I grew up. If that makes sense, right? So do again, focus on what you can control. You can't control all the stuff out there. All this out here you may not control, but what's here for you, you can control. You can control that. So that's what you control. As I coach my clients, always predicate your success upon what you can control, never on what you expect someone else to do for you, or if you expect them to believe a different way, to act a different way, to feel a different way. You don't control that. So you should never predicate your success upon it, right? Even when you're going out looking for a job, predicate your success upon doing your resume, making sure it's updating your LinkedIn, reaching out to people to network, doing information interviews, and filling out the job application. Don't predicate your success upon landing a job. You actually don't control that. Seems like an oxymoron, right? But you don't. Someone else controls that, because all things being equal, there could be 5 of you who all have the same qualifications, and you may not get hired because you don't control that. So never predicate your success upon that, right? That's the cherry. Make the cake yourself. Make sure that everything that you do is stuff that you control. Getting hired is, I say that's the icing. The cherry on the cake of the icing is getting the promotion, getting stock options, getting unlimited PTO, whatever else extra benefits that you want. That's the cherry on top. But the cake is yours, and it should be only predicated upon what you do. Okay. And so I do appreciate you. That's all I have, ladies and gents. I appreciate you for being here. Thank you for joining me. I know I had a lot of folks that said they would be here, and I thank you for that. And I have a lot of folks again that catches on replay. Thank you very much. If you're listening to this and you're like, yeah, I hear all of this, but I think I'm going to need some help here. If you're like Brayers, who said, my networks was very small. I just wasn't expecting this. It's okay. You start where you start. Okay. I do have an article out there on my website. It's a layoff survival guide. It's an article, just a blog out there. It goes into a little bit more depth what I talked about here. I'll drop the links for you in the description and in the comments. As soon as I get back on that Mac over there, I will drop those links there. Thank you so much for joining me. If you have questions, again, leave them in the comments. If you found this valuable, you found this very helpful, do me a favor, share this with someone who needs it, right? Because, this is for folks who were laid off, or people who know people who were laid off, right? And as well, hit the thumbs up or the like button and subscribe to my channel. I will be ever so grateful for you. And in the meantime, understand that just because you got laid off doesn't matter. You are still capable, and you still have value, and you will get through this. Here's to a successful job search and an even brighter future. I'll see you back next week. Take care. Thanks for joining me.